So, dear students, welcome to the session where we are going to revise the lesson on Louis Braille, a man who lit the lives of blind people across the globe. So, this man, Louis Braille, was a French man and who is responsible for the creation of Braille system that's used even today across the globe uh, to enable the blind people to read and write both. So this system is an invaluable tool for learning and communication. Now it's used worldwide for the blind. This is what we call Braille system is. So it involves raised dot system of 2 columns and 3 rows usually, which can be adopted into any language. By the touch of the tip of a finger, this alphabet or this system can be read by moving across these words and letters. So this amazing man was born on January 1809, 4th January 1809 in a village named Copperet in France. His father was Simon Reen Braille and mother Monique Braille. He had 3 siblings. His father worked as a saddler and leatherer. He also owned 3 hectares of land and vineyards. In his early childhood, Louis Braille admired his father's work. His father had a workshop where he worked worked with leather and saddles. So there, this boy used to creep in and work with the tools or play with the tools that his father used. So at the age of 3, when he was playing with an awl is a pointed tool that is used to make holes or pierce through leather. So while he was playing with such a tool in his workshop, in his father's workshop, now he took it, he tried to mimic his father's work, and he tried to pierce through a piece of leather, but unfortunately it pierced through the leather and also it struck his right eye, and the pain was very high. His father took him to the local doctor. The local doctor only could patch up his eye. The next day, his father took him to a surgeon in Paris. Unfortunately, by then, the infection had spread from right to the left eye. He had to undergo the pain without any other way. He suffered this pain for 2 years, and by the age of 5, he lost his eyesight completely. Life became very difficult after he became blind. And in those days, remember, blind people were confined. They were limited to the households and domestic chores and indoor responsibilities. They had no other world other than that. But his parents were different. They were so supportive to this boy, inquisitive boy. In the sense, this boy was very keen in learning. They were so supportive that they helped him to learn a few things. For example, his father prepared a cane for him, a stick that helped him wade through the paths and get familiar with the country paths and roads. So he even got familiarized with the distance from one place to another. So here is the picture that describes how his father supported him in learning to walk through the country roads. So impressed by this boy's inquisitiveness, learning skills, the local teachers and priests, they encouraged him to continue his education. So he continued his education in local school till the age of 10, and then he got an opportunity by an invitation by Royal School for the Blind Youth to join and continue his studies there. So happily he joins the National Institute for Blind Youth located in Paris, and then only the school offered a special teaching for the blind youth. Braille moved to that school, and in that school there was one of the founders named Valentin Hai. He had developed his own system of reading for the blind. He was a philanthropist. He had dedicated all his life to help the blind. So his system of reading for the blind involved raised imprints of Latin letters embossed on heavy papers. So for preparing this system, heavy papers were used, and on that heavy paper the Latin letters were embossed on it, fixed on it, so that by moving the fingers through those letters one could feel and read in that way. But this system had its own limitations. Number one was the production of such books was expensive, and number two limitation was it was difficult to carry. But Braille read all 8 books that were stocked in this system, prepared in this system in school's library, but he felt uh, uh, he really wished for a system that would enable the blind people to read easily and write as well. That's how he started working on it. Besides this, he was also interested in music. He tried his hand and proved good at cello and the organ. By these skills, he got an opportunity to work at different churches as an organist. Once his education was over, complete, he initially worked as a teacher aide, a teacher assistant, helper, and then by 1833 he became a professor in the same school, National Institute for the Blind Youth. And regarding the system, Braille system, he had started working on this system when he was just 12 years old. So by 1829 he developed it in a way and published it. Meanwhile, he also came across a system that was used in the French army that became an inspiration for Braille to develop his own system. That is called night writing, developed by Charles Barbier and used in French army to read some secret messages even without light. So soldiers in battlefield could read secret messages without the light. And this system, observe how it is different from that of Valentin Hai's system. This night writing involved codes of dots and dashes impressed into thick paper, could be read by moving fingertips over it. So there is no embossing of letters or using heavy papers, but rather it's a thick paper, and dots and dashes were used to mean something. So by moving through the fingers over that, one could read the message. So Braille was inspired by this Charles Barbier system. So he came up with the first version in 1824, then in 29, and then after several revisions in 1837 he published his final reading system for the blind people. So by a single touch of a finger one could read. So this involved raised dot system. As I have shown you the Braille system in the beginning of this class, it included 2 columns and 3 rows of raised dot system. By just placing fingertip over that, one can read. But the irony of his life is that, or the tool that blinded him is that, the tool that blinded him is the tool that he used to create a system that gave light to the blind people. So this is the irony, and this is an example. Braille's life is an example for those who can turn adversity into diversity. ಸೊ ಏನು ತೊಡಕುಗಳು ಅಡೆತಡೆಗಳಿದ್ವು ಅದನ್ನೇ ಒಂದು ಅಪಾರ್ಚುನಿಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಟರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥವರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಬ್ಯಾಬ್ಲಿ ಇವ್ರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಫೈನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಲೂಯಿಸ್ ಬ್ರೈಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು. And in the same school, students wished that that system should be introduced, but there were oppositions. Students liked, but the officials on the board of that system, they did not like to introduce it. And in the meanwhile, Braille's health deteriorated. Then he moved to Capri. He lived there. He died of tuberculosis in 1852 when he was 43 years old. Later, one more founder of the Institute, Royal Institute for the Blind Youth, Dr. Thomas Rhodes Armitage, spoke about this Braille system. Rather, he praised the Braille system in a conference that was held in Paris, probably, and this conference was for the teachers of the blind youth. First conference for teachers of the blind youth was held in Europe in 1873, and in that conference Dr. Thomas Rhodes Armitage praised Braille system. So his words carried weightage, his words spread across the globe, and Universal Braille Code for English was formalized in 1932. So this is how only after his lifetime that his system came to be used. So this is an inspirational life of Louis Braille, who lit the lives of blind people. Here is the recap. He was a Frenchman who created the Braille system for the blind youth to read and write. His father was a saddler, but when he was around 3 years old. While playing with a pointed tool, he struck his eye, and due to infection he became blind by the age of 5. His father helps him in learning a few basic things. He studied in a local school till the age of 10, and then moves to Royal Institute for the Blind Youth at Paris. Then he gets acquainted with Valentin's system of reading, but wishes for a better system that enables the blind to read and write both and easily. He also proves to be a good organist, works as a teacher aide, then later as a professor, gets inspired by Charles Barbier's night writing. Then he tries to simplify that system of codes and dashes. Then he uses raised dot system. He uses the all a pointed tool that had blinded him. He uses the same awl to create raised dot system. By using a fingertip, one can read this system. So this system became popular only after his death. That's all from this lesson, Louis Braille and his achievements.